AI tools are everywhere right now, but for many business owners and managers, the results still feel sometimes underwhelming. Why do some companies get powerful business changing output while others get generic junk? Well, in this session today, we break down the missing piece most people never think about, a foundational document that teaches AI how your business actually operates. So instead of fighting with prompts and starting over every time, owners can finally get smarter, more relevant results that save time and improve communication, marketing, operations, and more. And to do this, an expert on this topic is Dean Mercado, founder and CEO of Online Marketing Muscle. Dean, glad to have you on the program today.
I'm so honored to be here once again, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Today's topic is important for people that want to see a difference using AI. I mean, we use it everywhere, but to make a real difference in business, that's our focus. Tee it up for us, Dean. Tell us why this topic is important and why we should pay attention to it.
I certainly will. And stick with me here for a second, Jeff. Do you remember it was probably about 2004, maybe 2005? There was an Adam Sandler movie that came out called 51st Dates. It's Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore. Very funny movie, right? Very funny movie. She had some sort of accident and couldn't remember things, right? Every day her memory would refresh. Well, there's a character in that movie called 10-Second Tom. And 10-Second Tom is AI, right? 10-Second Tom, you introduce yourself to Tom. Hi, hey, Tom, I'm Dean. Da, 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 right? And Tom's like, oh, hi, good to meet you. Above 10 seconds later, Tom's like, hi, I'm Tom. 10 seconds later, hi, I'm Tom, right? He can't remember beyond 10 seconds. And AI can be like that a lot. Have you experienced that? Where it's like every day you come into it, unless you train it and it knows about you, it's like it's starting from ground zero over and over again.
I do see that. There are some things that I'll ask it to look at, and I have to remind it, and I tell it to update its memory, and it still will forget. But you know what, Dean? And that's a good movie, by the way. Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Yeah, real good movie. There's something about AI that's interesting. It always apologizes, but it's so confident. Oh, I
Yes.
didn't do that right. Here it is.
Right.
Here you go.
Right.
Like, okay.
Exactly. So what I hope everybody gets out of this conversation today is to avoid that 10-second Tom syndrome and to educate the AI in such a way that it's no longer a problem. Here's another big thing I see, Jeff, and it dovetails right off 10-second Tom. And I want you to imagine you have a cleaning company, let's say, and you hire somebody and you bring them on board and you fully onboard them day one. You train them all about the company, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, everything about the company. I was doing that this morning, bringing somebody on board this morning. Imagine they come in tomorrow and they have a completely wiped slate and you have to go through the whole thing again and teach them every single little detail once again about their business, your business, about the job they're going to do, how to do it, all of that stuff. They come in the third day, same problem, right? We wouldn't tolerate it very long, right? At some point, you got to look for a better solution than that. And that's where today's session comes in, right there, where it's like, well, what do we do about that? Well, that's what I got for you here. From using AI, and I'm pretty early adopter from the get-go with this. One thing I noticed right out of the gate was that I got sick and tired very quickly about repeating myself. And I'm the kind of guy that likes to systematize everything and anything. Anything I could wrap a system around, I always would be. Anything that I could do to make something better, faster, cheaper, I was looking for. So, because the tools themselves didn't have a solution for it, I created one. And that creation is something that I call the keystone asset, right? So, based on the pattern that I was seeing, I created this one little asset that if we were to just upload that asset to AI when we want to work with it, it would know everything it needs to know. And then we could get right down to business. Now keep in mind, I can upload a 10, 20 page document to AI and it reads it in 20 seconds. So it's like I can give it a lifetime's worth of knowledge in 20 seconds and then be on my way and get better results, better conversation, better everything out of it. So the Keystone asset was something that was born out of my brain because I wasn't finding what I needed. And that's usually where most inventions come from. They come from a real pain or a real problem that someone's experiencing, and they have to find a way to get past it. And that was me. Because not only was I dealing with it in my own business, but all my clients who were starting to dabble in AI, they were experiencing the same thing. So I'm like, okay, I've got to figure something out. So this Keystone asset is very, very simple. It's a simple document that you fill in some information and voila, you feed that to AI and now it knows what it needs to know. And I'm going to go through the components of that document very quickly. And at the end, I'll give everybody an opportunity. If they want it, they can come grab the template. And I would highly recommend it. People have paid us a lot of money for this kind of stuff in the past. You can have the template for free. On top of that, I'll give you a few samples so that you can see what a filled out one looks like. But the Keystone asset, I want you to look at it as if it's your company's DNA, right? It's the DNA. It's written down. It's organized. It's ready to hand to AI, any AI tool. Any moment you're ready to start a session. And now keep in mind, another big problem popped up. Every type of AI wanted their own way of doing this. So I had to find a way that would work with all of them. So Claude has its way. It likes its certain things in its project folders, and it likes things in markdown language and this name of the file and that name. And you know what? I use all those tools. Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, Grok. I use them all. So I didn't want to have to create the same thing or in their version the way they wanted it. No, this is my game. You work for me. I pay for the tool. So you got to serve me. So the DNA, this document is a simple Google document. It could be a simple Microsoft Word document, right? And then you just PDF it. You download it as a PDF from those tools, and now you have your company's DNA in one little capsule. One of the biggest problems I've seen with a lot of companies is they never sit down long enough to document this kind of stuff. So then when somebody asks them off the cuff, oh, what do you do? Who do you do it for? It's different every single time. But I want you to imagine this DNA document. It pulls all your genius so that when I write something in AI, it really sounds like me. You'd be hard pressed, Jeff, to challenge that and say, well, this is probably AI, and probably be wrong most of the time. That's how much I've trained my AI to do what I want it to do. So this Keystone asset didn't always come in this form. It's gone through many iterations over the years. So it's mission critical. There are 11 sections in this document, right? It basically covers what I call the 5 W's plus H. The who, what, when, where, why, and how of your business. The who, what, when, where, why, and how of your business, right? And the how is the biggest part, because the how is what enables AI to act on your behalf and sound like you, use phrases you use, you know what I mean? Use your lingo, your way of saying things, right? And you're basically giving it the rules of the road inside this document. So the first section is a little bit, it's what we call about me and my role. So I want you to imagine you can have a Keystone asset for yourself as the business owner. If you have somebody else who posts on behalf of your company out on AI and stuff like that as themselves, they can have their own version of the Keystone asset. 99% of the Keystone asset will be the same between yours and theirs, except a little bit of the about me. It'll be about you and then about them. So this way, when they write, it sounds like them, but it still adheres to your guidelines. right? So this is a good way to keep everybody in your company in check and sounding the way they're supposed to sound, on brand, on point, right? Keeps them from going down paths you don't want them to go. So the about me and my role is section one. Section two is the vision of the company. Vision for me is your purpose or your why. You tell it why you do what you do, your mission statement, your what you want to have happen by when, what you want a mission to do, and then your core values, your rules of the road, your core values. Your core values gives the AI guidelines. You know, we adhere to these core values. Don't ever step outside of these core values, right? And so you tell it that in that section. Section three, you tell it what you do, what your services are, what your offerings are, what kind of work you take and what kind of work you don't take, right? So sometimes it's just as important to tell it what not to do as it is to tell it what to do. In section four, we talk about who you serve, what your ideal client looks like, your ICP, ideal client profile. This is mission critical. So when you're writing anything, AI needs to know who you're targeting with that writing. And if most of the things you're writing are aimed towards your client base, then you definitely want to let them know what your ICP is, right? Where you serve them also. We ask in section four. When you operate, your operating hours, things like that, we put in this document, right? And those first four items, those first four sections covered the W's, the who, what, when, where, why, right? But not the how yet. So now comes the how stuff. Section five is your brand voice and your writing style, right? This is where you tell it, this is what I sound like. I never say these words. I always say these words, right? Here's some Deanisms that I always include, right? Like one you'll hear me say today a lot is garbage in, garbage out, genius in, genius out, right? So if you put garbage into AI, you're going to get garbage back. You put your genius into AI, you're going to get more of your genius back out. So that's a Deanism. That's in my DNA document or my Keystone asset, right? And I use the word asset on purpose, by the way, folks. An asset is something that's valuable. An asset brings the value of your company up, right? We should always be looking as owners to create assets, right? Section six covers how we operate. What's your approach? For my company, it's the clone the owner methodology. That's our approach, our signature system, our signature way of doing everything is clone the owner. Most businesses have them. If yours doesn't, you might want to think about it because otherwise, why is your business any different than the next business out there? So this gives you the opportunity to identify it so AI leverages it because AI is always trying to please you, right, Jeff? You get that too when you use it. It's always trying to make you happy, right? And that's great most of the time. Sometimes it's annoying, right? Don't yes me to death. Just tell me what I need to, and I'll argue with it. Tell me what I need to hear, please. Stop yesing me, but how you operate, what your approach is, your beliefs, your process, right? Section seven, it's your content and your messaging preferences, right? So how you like things formatted. How long do you like your emails? How long do you like your articles that you write? How long should a Facebook post be? How long should an Instagram post be? Things like that, right? You would put in there. Section 8 is your professional credentials and any standards you have for your company. So if you've won some awards, put it in here. Give AI that knowledge so it can use that stuff or help you understand where you might want to use it. Right? Going forward, this is all about your reputation. In mine, I have specific testimonials even that sometimes your clients say things about your business that they say it better than you ever could. Include those. And AI will also know that it can use those in things it writes for you. Right? Section 9. These are your guardrails. Right? Here's what you should never do, AI. Don't ever do this. Don't ever let me catch you, right? Never claim this. right? Never imply that, right? You got to give it the hard line. No, 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 no. Don't ever. Because a lot of times it would do that. One of the things it used to do for me early on and drives me crazy was that saying, once it knew I was from New York, it would use the saying, let me be honest with you. And I hate that saying because that means to me, it always inferred that I was being lied to all the rest of the time. So you mean, why do you want to be honest with me now? You weren't honest with me before? So let me be honest with you. And AI would use it like crazy and everything it wrote on my behalf. And I'd be yelling at it, screaming at it. Hence the Keystone Asset helped fix that, right? Section 10 are your calls to action. How do you usually want to ask somebody for their business? Tell AI that. So if you write an Instagram post, it could include your call to action. You can actually tell it, use call to action number 1. Use call to action number 5 for this post, and it'll know. You don't have to explain the call to action anymore. You did it once in your Keystone Asset. And the final section of this document are any linked project documents, SOPs, sample proposals, brand guides, anything else you want it to know about. It's like putting links in there so it can go out and find other things. So like if I'm using Claude, for example, Claude allows me to create a project folder. In that project folder, I might have numerous documents in there for it. But the Keystone Asset will reference everything and say, oh, read the brand guidelines before you design anything for me. Make sure you know what my fonts are. Make sure you know what my colors are, right? And what gets used on what. So as you could start to see, this one document acts as like the guide for AI. If you truly want to get any value out of this technology, out of any of these tools, you owe it to yourself. You got to educate it. If you're afraid to educate it, then you got to reconsider why you're bothering using it. So now everyone's going to say, well, that's a lot of stuff, Dean. It's going to take me forever to write that. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Grab the template. Grab the samples that I give you. Put them into AI. Right? And then say, here's the template AI. Here's some samples. What I want you to do is I want you to ask me some questions. I'll just verbally tell you what the answers are, and then you write my document for me using the template. And it will do that. So what might this take you? An hour? Maybe an hour? Because you have to think a little bit about what do I want to, what kind of information do I want to make sure it gets? You can also shortcut the process by just giving it pages of your website and say, hey, gather everything you can gather from these 5 links on my website. These 5 URLs have a lot of this information. Go get that, bring that back so you don't have to ask me that stuff. Only ask me the stuff that you don't get from my website. Ooh, okay. So now instead of sitting there for hours and hours and hours trying to write this stuff, you might have written bits and pieces. Go get those, dump them in. Right? So if there's ever, anything about you, like let's say maybe you have a really cool bio written about you, dump it in. Let it pull right from your bio so you don't have to talk it through all the time or write this voluminous, crazy prompt to tell it everything it needs to know. So it is about being smarter. The key here is you build it once, you load it in, and from that point forward, it's genius in, genius out, instead of garbage in, garbage out. Trust me, folks, when I tell you I've been using this for a couple of years now, my outputs are insanely good. I'm not telling you that to hype things because there's too much crap hype out there right now. Everybody's telling you, oh, it's this, it's that. AI is the best. It's the, it's the bee's knees and it's the whatever, right? It's not what I'm doing for you here. I'm trying to get you to be able to use this thing and get a real result out of it. Get some real value out of it. That's what I call the Keystone Asset. So there's a couple of big benefits you're going to notice right off the bat. And the first big benefit is going to be about superior output. And that's what I was alluding to. I don't want to go back and forth 40 times with it till I get something that I like. I wanted to get 80 to 90% of the way there on the first shot. That's the key. If you're not getting that now, then there's a problem. You need the Keystone asset. If you are getting that now, or you think you're getting it now, try reading what's coming out next time and see if you truly are getting something that's valuable to you. Right? And remember, if you don't sound unique and you sound like everybody else, that sometimes is the worst thing you could do. Don't put junk out there that sounds like every other cleaning or restoration company possible. No, people want uniqueness. The brand matters. It matters a lot. You have to have your differentiators. The Keystone asset allows you to have that. Now, the second big thing, big benefit is the simpler prompts. My prompts were starting to get insanely long. I don't know about you, Jeff. I mean, they're getting like, it could be like pages and pages for one prompt. And I'm like, it's taking me longer to write the prompt than it was to actually create the solution on my own without dealing with AI, So it's like, if I'm spending 3 hours writing a prompt, you got to be kidding me. I could have had most jobs done by then. Now, this is really, really an important piece, because if it's taking you longer to delegate to AI than it would for you to do it yourself, what do you think's going to happen? You're going to do it yourself. And you're going to say, the heck with AI, it takes too long. By the time I explain it to AI, I'd be done already. And it's like, those of you who have employees, you all probably recognize that. Oh, I don't want to delegate to Susie. By the time I teach her how to do it, I could have been done with it already. Well, this is the same thing. The problem is, if you never teach Susie, you get stuck doing this every single time you have to do it. If you take the time and teach Susie once, the first time, the right way, Susie could do it next time, and the time after that, and the 100th time after that. So stop thinking short-sighted and start thinking down the road. Delegation is key. So you got smarter output, you got simpler prompts, right? And the third big benefit that I want to give you, Jeff, it works with every tool, whether you're using Gemini, Claude, Grok, any of them, ChatGPT. Upload this document and you're fine. Once it reads that, it knows what you want, knows who you are and what's going on, right? It's not in anybody's format. It's in your own format. And I think that's key, because that makes it so it doesn't matter. You decide tomorrow Gemini's better for you, then just take your document and upload it there, and you're in better shape. So as far as the hype, don't listen to the hype. Stay on point. It's documents like this that are proven, that get the job done. I use it myself. I wouldn't give you something that I don't use. Right? My clients use this. They all have their own versions of this. It's a huge asset for you. So you want the real results, right? You get the real results this way. So no more garbage in, garbage out, folks. Now it's genius in, genius out. So give it the genius. Take the time and build the document. So on that note, Jeff, I'll pass it back to you. Thoughts, questions?
So I like the idea of keeping everything in one spot, in one document, and instead of reinventing it, because you're right. I like your analogy of a new employee comes in, day one, you train them, day two, you have to do it again. That 51 first date
Right.
theory fits well with that. I have a question though. Once you have that master document, and of course that's a living document, right? You can adjust it at
Yes,
any time.
absolutely.
How often do you have to upload it? In your experience, do you have to remind AI, hey, remember this document? Or is it a one and done?
It depends. That's the real answer. ChatGPT and Claude both have something called project folders. So I tend to upload the document to each project folder that I have, because the project, the way those two AI tools work is the memory stays within the project folder. So if I upload it to a specific project folder, so let's say I have a project folder for writing articles for my blog, right? I'll upload it to the writing assistant project folder. And now I never have to tell it that stuff again. Whenever I'm writing, it knows exactly what it needs to know. So those two tools have the project folders, makes life a lot easier. Gemini, a little bit more difficult. Gemini, unless you get involved into some of the other tools that can connect into Gemini, like Notebook LM, which is another Google tool. Notebook LM acts like a project folder for Gemini. So what I do is I upload it to Notebook LM, and then I hook that project. I hook Notebook LM into Gemini, and then I don't have to tell it. Or if you don't want to bother hooking that in, just upload it when you're using it. Just re-upload the document. Gemini and Notebook LM, there's also something called Google Gem, GEM. You could upload it there too and hook that in. So there's ways to do it. Where there's a will, there's a way. If you're ever unsure, ask it, can you see my Keystone asset? If you can, tell me what the first line or the third line or the third sentence of the Keystone asset is, right? To make sure it's not hallucinating, right? And it'll go in there, and if it gives you the right answer, you know it sees it. If it doesn't, then you know it doesn't. Or you could flat out ask it, hey, if you need me to re-upload it, don't hallucinate. Tell me, and I'm happy to re-upload it for you right now. And it'll tell you. It doesn't lie, not on purpose anyway. So it'll tell you, and then you just re-upload it. So unfortunately, where we are right now, Jeff, it's still a little bit manual. And that's the sad part. But you know what? I'll take that any day over not having it not know anything about me and giving me garbage back, unusable stuff. It's like, my time's valuable. It's like, don't waste my time. I need to get to what I need to get to, the outcome, as quickly as possible. That enables me to serve as many great people as I can serve at a high level, So does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's good stuff, Dean. Appreciate that. No, I think we covered it nicely. We're going to put a link in the video description below so people can access this document. You call it a Keystone. Is that a capital K?
Yes. So it's
All right.
called the Keystone asset.
So,
So look
folks,
for
get
that.
your Keystone asset. It's down below. Link. Try it out and let us know how it goes, because I think this is really cool, Dean, to have a tool like this to simplify and reduce all those long prompts no one wants to write. That's for sure.
And let me put this one last thought out there. There's going to be some of you that are going to say, I don't know how much information I want to give AI. And I'm telling you, your information's already all over the place. So if privacy is your concern, far be it from me to give you advice on that. You do what you feel you need to do. But I'm telling you, your information's already all over the place, being sold all over the place. Don't tell it anything you don't want the public to know, though. Right? So, but you can easily tell it who your clients are. In other words, what type of person is your client type, that kind of stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And your website already has a lot of that information anyway. So again, take the time, folks. Do the work now. You don't have to do it over and over again. Good luck.
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate this. We'll
You
call
bet.
that Mercado's mindset mic drop right there.
Beautiful.